again by Benning. Darnell Nurse left it in the corner, gets up center. Perry scores! Corey Perry!
Ilya able to shake away from Solani. It's given away to Solani around in front. Score! Teemu Solani with the steal.
Three of the fans want one. Score! Off the floor! On the board! Paul Kariya!
Podcast still exists. It's still a thing. We're still here.
That's our Christmas gift to you guys.
Yeah. It's my mistake saying we were gonna go live on Sunday, too early, and then we had some scheduling conflicts. But we're back. I think what is this now? It's more than a week because I think our last show was 2 Sundays ago.
Tuesdays. Wasn't there Tuesday, and then we missed the weekend, and now we're on Wednesday. So
yeah, we're back on a regular schedule. Stop. It's supposed to be Wednesday and Sunday. There's no game on Wednesday. We're here on Wednesday. So
yes,
we're here. It was Sunday, then it was yesterday. Behind the scenes, it was yesterday, and it's today now. So we're here. We're good. And we have 4 games.
And all the important people are here. You and me.
Yes.
And that's it.
Pat's not here.
And then the listener is
no. This
multiples. We have multiples.
Yeah. Despite being literally just non-existent on social media for the last week and a half, we have some people who are sticking around, so we're here.
It's almost like we're trying to not have listeners. We're making a big effort to push people away.
Well, you guys are sticking around, and we appreciate it. We do have 4 games that we have to kind of mop up here. The Ducks way back. We won't spend a lot of time on these some of these older games, but the Ducks did break the Islanders at the time their 17-game point streak. They ended up winning that game 3-0. Followed that up with a 4-3 shootout loss to the Arizona Coyotes, which is a bit disappointing. But I believe Brendan Gooley got his first NHL goal in that one, so bright side-ish. Right, we'll talk about that later.
Do we get? Yeah, okay.
Troy Terry scoring too. I mean, we have more on Brendan Gooley later. The 2 most recent games, though, the Ducks lost to the Winnipeg Jets 3-0 and beat the Kings 4-2. These ones we'll break down a bit more, starting with the game against the Jets. The Jets have gotten better lately. They've started turning things around. This was the Ducks' last game in November. Not a way to close out a month. Not a great night for John Gibson. And Connor Hellebuck, despite only facing 24 shots, closed the door.
Yeah. I blame this loss solely on Pat's presence. He literally went there for the game,
for his
and
birthday,
the Ducks
right?
just. Yeah. So it was the day, I believe, the day after Thanksgiving. So he showed up. Ducks lay an egg, so to speak. I hate that cliche, but that was bad. Gibby wasn't stellar. The Ducks weren't stellar, and from all accounts and first-hand account from Pat, it blew. It was the most boring game he's watched.
Batting on the Ducks' winning percentage when he's at a game now? Because he was in Colorado too, and the Ducks get hammered by, or did they win that game? I can't remember now. Maybe I'm writing him off a little bit here.
No, well, if you want to make yourself feel better, it's say home games that he's been to. Okay. No, he's a horrible percentage. But so do I, so I can't really throw him under the bus too much.
Yeah,
I haven't even been to regular season games.
We can't even count recently. The Ducks have been bad the last 2 seasons, so it's not. It's not maybe not fair.
No. We can throw him under the bus. It's his fault.
All right.
All those losses he shows up.
Ducks versus Kings, better outcome against the worst team.
Yeah.
The Kings are one of the worst teams in the league, but the Ducks' fourth line getting it done. Carter Rowney, a goal and an assist. Derek Grant, 2 goals. He's got 8. Somehow on the year. Did Nick Deslauriers get a point there? He did. He grabbed a primary assist on Derek Grant's goal. Not the line you expect to be getting offense, not the line that you expect one player on that line to have 8 goals and it to be Derek Grant, but this is the world we live in. And Carter Rowney has 5. Like Derek Grant, Carter Rowney have 13 goals.
And they're good. They think they. I mean, they're even dangerous shorthanded. That's one of the things they do really well too. But I'm happy with it because as long as they're not like the rest of the Ducks, younger players, like we're waiting for that thing to kind of kick in and go. And at the same time, you need that fourth line presence that maybe chips in the goal and outplays the other fourth line. So I'm absolutely thrilled and happy. And Derek Grant has a hat trick in one game. He's up to 8 goals now, which actually puts him ahead of Tyler Seguin and also Malkin, even though Malkin's been injured. And he's only 2 behind Tavares at this point. So, I mean, your elite center number 1, Derek Grant.
So that definitely means he's as good as Tyler Seguin and John Tavares.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, skill-wise for sure. And then on top of that, he should absolutely be an all-star.
He's also a better face-off man than John Tavares. Look at that. Playing less minutes.
100%.
People
less
were saying
minutes.
We should have signed John Tavares. We went and got Derek Grant for 1/11th of the price, and look at the production he's got.
Yeah, well, if you leave it up to the people who say we should sign certain people, we'll have everybody, and we literally won't be playing any other teams because we've been signing. But Derek Grant's awesome. I mean, he's found a home here, and everyone just kind of revels in the fact that he's doing what he's doing, and I think he's kind of on board with it. He's like, all right, I'm doing fourth line stuff, but I'm playing at a second or first line level, so we'll just keep it going. And I absolutely love it because the Ducks are going to need that grit. I hate saying, like, oh, they need that grit. But
it's
they
not more than
need
grit. It's
someone to just do the dirty work and get the dirty goals. And even his goal was just like a spin around, slap it in, it's in. God, good to go. I mean, take it. It's a goal, and it was a good one. So
it never hurts to get 14 goals from a fourth line that consists of Nick Deslauriers, Derek Grant, and Carter Rowney. But Deslauriers,
a quarter of the way through the season, got 14 goals. I mean, at the end of the season, you go like, all right, well, they did all right. That's a quarter of the way. Yeah, 3 quarters left. Who the hell knows what they're going to do next?
Well, in 208 career games prior to this season, Derek Grant had 14 career goals. He's got 8. He's likely going to pass that this year.
Almost all of them have been with Ducks too, because like I think he spent some time with Pittsburgh and just like nothing, and just wherever else he was, it was just pretty much the Ducks.
22 of those are with the Ducks.
There you go. Out of what, 24?
24. Yeah. he had 2 with Pittsburgh in his time in between being with the Ducks, and then I think it's just under 80 games with other teams prior to this. He had 0.
Yeah, so I mean, I think he's lost more teeth than he scored goals for other teams. So keep him. Let's just keep going with him.
Carter Rowney also on pace for a career high. His career high was last year with the Ducks with 7. He's got 5 in 28 games, so he could finish.
I love that fourth line.
If they both finish over 10, and if one of them hits 15, that's a huge win. I
can easily see Grant going over 15. Now it's going to be an anomaly. Like, I mean, he ended up getting it going, and he's gotten a lot of goals opportunistically. But I think Rowney definitely be there. But I think Grant for sure can get 15. He's got 3 quarters of the season left, barring injury. All he's got to do is get 7 more, and he's there. And especially if they're going to start giving him power play time. I mean, that's what we were talking about. We were talking about the power play with them. Just, get a net front presence. And that's exactly what he can do. And so he showed it on that first goal in L.A., even though it wasn't power play. It was just put him there. I mean, the guy, he's got hands. He's soft, soft hands around the net. So, and he scores shorthanded goals. He's good.
Yeah, he's getting put in positions to score. The Ducks penalty kill. The way they kind of man that penalty kill, it's dangerous shorthanded, and Derek Grant's kind of been the beneficiary of that. Same with Carter Rowney too. I believe he has a shorthanded goal in the season as well.
Yep.
So if Derek said he thinks they'll both finish around 12, I could definitely see that. I think obviously Derek Grant isn't going to score at this pace for the rest of the season because that would mean he'd score somewhere around 20 goals this year. So I don't think that's going to be a likely pace. He probably cools off at some point, but I don't think
you want to take a bet on that.
Well, you think he's going to hit 20?
No, not 20. 15.
No, I think he could hit 15.
Ooh. Well, you're disagreeing with Derek. Derek says 12.
Yeah, that would be ice cold. 4 goals over the next 50 or so games for Derek Grant. I mean, it's not.
So you
say.
think he'll hit 15 because I think he will too.
Yeah, I think he'll be between 14 and 16. I think that's where he finishes.
That's 15.
Yeah, Phil says, "Can we please get Derek Grant to the All-Star game?"
Absolutely. There's
come on.
there's a buddy. We go. Come on, what? He's got more goals than Sagan. You think Sagan's going to go to the All-Stars? Well, no.
Yeah, so the Ducks, there's going to be one Duck who goes to the All-Star game. Sagan's not going to be there. Actually, Sagan is going to be there because he's the Stars' best player. So.
Sagan will be there.
Or Bishop will be there.
Still.
Or both. But, the Ducks are going to get one player because John Gibson is going to go.
Getzlaf and then probably Silverberg.
Maybe. But I think they only get one. I honestly think only one. Because the forwards in the Pacific Division, McDavid and Draisaitl are both going.
Kemper's going as a goalie and Fleury. I think Gibson's. I don't Gibson's in unless he turns it on real quick here.
No,
I think Kemper or Fleury.
Yeah, and defense I think is going to be the interesting thing for this division when it comes to who's going to show up there. The Oilers don't really have anybody. Maybe Ekman Larson from Arizona. Maybe Carlson or Burns. Quinn Hughes maybe. Gets a call from Vancouver, but I think Pedersen
what? I think he would too, because trying to think of anyone else in Vancouver besides Pedersen. But even he's got 12 goals. That's not too bad at this point.
Yeah, but Vancouver could get two. I think when you're getting desperate, Phil says Darnell Nurse, maybe Darnell Nurse for Edmonton, but they're gonna already have Draisaitl and McDavid locked for that, so I don't see them getting three guys.
They don't get three guys.
Yeah, so Vegas maybe defenseman. I can't see it. It would more so be a flag. All these guys have forwards, so I think Oliver Ekman-Larsson probably goes for Arizona with Darcy Kemper. I think that's something I could see. I think Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson probably go. You might see a defenseman from San Jose just to get Burns or Carlson there to see one of them.
Who do you pick between those two? Because I think Burns has been struggling a little bit too.
Burns has 21 points in 29 games. Carlson has 21 points in 28 games. So it all and they're pretty similar numbers. So
coin flip.
Yeah, it's a coin flip at this point. I think it all depends on who people vote in and
on the beard.
I think Burns probably gets in right now, but Quinn Hughes, I think honestly is probably a lock for when it comes for a defenseman. I think in the Pacific he probably has the most points of any defenseman. He's got more points than Carlson and Burns in the same amount of games played. He's got 23. So
yeah,
we'll see Getzlaf there though. That's nice. Right?
Yeah, Yeah. There you go. Unless he falls off the planet, I don't see that happening. I think he gets in the All-Star game, which is nice. Yeah, I don't think he's been there in quite a while. Quite a few seasons, I think.
Yeah, at least a few. I don't remember. Yeah. It's been Gibson. I think Fowler went one time, right? Raquel was there. Kessler was there, right?
I want to say it was about two or 3 years ago because I know he did the that passing accuracy in the skills competition.
Yeah, I remember his son
I think that was
there.
I think that was in L.A. Whenever the L.A.
Yeah, Phil said he went to one in L.A.
So. Yeah,
3 years.
I think that was 2016. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be nice for Getz to get back out there. Couple roster updates. This is recent. This is all after the Kings game. Max Jones sent down to San Diego. No surprise there. Scratched for the Kings game. Had 0 points in the previous 3 games before that. Maxime Comtois comes up, which I guess is the logical option at this point. It doesn't look like Kiefer Sherwood's getting a shot, man, because if at any point Kiefer Sherwood is going to get called up, it was probably now, because of the way he's playing there and Max Jones not playing so good. I could have saw it. This is the time I could have seen it happening, because Maxime Comtois isn't exactly lighting it up down in San Diego, but it looks like they want to give him another shot.
I think they've kind of classified Sherwood as that fourth line, maybe third line guy. And right now, the fourth line of the Ducks is the one that's actually keeping them afloat. So I don't think they're going to bring in Sherwood and try and promote him to a second or third or a second or first line role. I think they're willing to shuffle other things around to give Comtois that opportunity to get back into it. As much as I like Sherwood, and I think he works amazing as, in my opinion, even higher. I mean, I struggle to put him in a second line, but definitely I could see him in a third line role, just his intensity. But the way he plays is a fourth line type player with some speed, more speed than most. But we're solid on the fourth line, I think. And I think that's why they're kind of like, hey, do your thing down here. And if we have an injury, that's probably his foot in the door, maybe. But he's going to need another. Unfortunately, he's going to need for them another season down there, and unless he can really kind of jump in and all of a sudden just blow up offensively, and they can't keep him down. Otherwise, he's going to be in San Diego for most of this year, I think.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. The Ducks are finally starting to get some chemistry, right? Like this fourth line is obviously going right now. Henrique with Ritchie and Kasha starting to look pretty good. When the first couple games they were together was really, really good. It cooled down a bit, but that's still a pairing that we've seen in the past, and I think could work going forward. Steele's back with Raquel and Silverberg, and now it's just kind of figuring out who's going to go with Getzlaf, and maybe next game we see Devon Shore still up there, or maybe we actually see Comtois and Terry with Ryan Getzlaf. I can't see them messing around too much with the bottom six, if you want to call Henrique, Ritchie, and Kasha part of the bottom six. I could still see them bouncing Raquel up with Steele and Silverberg up to Getzlaf, and maybe Comtois goes with Steele and Silverberg, and Terry stays with Raquel and Getzlaf, because we've seen that before. I could definitely see that happening. But yeah, Sherwood would be a bottom six guy, and I don't think right now he's bumping out Carter Rowney or Andre Kasha, right? Like you're not going to play him on the left side, and if you did, then he's replacing Nick Delorier, which sure he's probably a better player, but why mess with that fourth line the way they're playing right now?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess in any game he's got the potential to create offense better than Delorier, but I don't hate Delorier's game, and you can say, that the not the enforcer, but the stronger guy in the lineup. I feel like him being there allows Ritchie to not have to be that guy. And that's, hey, if you F around over here, this is the guy you have to talk to later about it. And so I like Delorier in there because I don't think he's really a detriment defensively. And as long as he's not a detriment defensively, I'd rather have him in there than have Shore and not have a Delorier cloud that the other team has to worry about at least a little bit. So I feel he fits in a little bit better, and it's a little bit harder for Shore to be in there. But I have a question. You say his name is Kasha?
Yeah.
How do you pronounce his name?
Andre Kasha.
Kasha. Is it Kasha or Kasha? I've always heard of it as Kasha, but you say Kasha.
Potato.
No, is it Cash or Kasha? No,
I say Kasha.
You cash me outside, or you kosh me outside. There's a difference.
Okay, so then am I right?
No,
am I right
wrong.
Or am I wrong?
Yeah, it's Canadians are always wrong.
Is it Kasha?
Yeah, it's Kasha instead of Kasha. You say Kasha and it throws me off.
Okay,
say Colorado.
I'll say Andre. Yeah,
Colorado. Colorado.
Your point on Nick Ritchie, though. So, yes, it takes the physical, I guess, the enforcer role away from Nick Ritchie. Not that he's ever really filled those shoes. Still leads the league in penalty minutes with 54.
He does? The whole league he does?
He leads the whole league in penalty minutes with 54. Guess who's number 2 after the 29 penalty minute night against the Winnipeg Jets?
Brain fart. I don't know. Just
Eric
say it because it's going to annoy me.
So
what?
Nick,
No.
Yeah,
He's second in the
he's second. Nick Ritchie has 54. Eric Goodbranson has 53. More than half of those came against the Winnipeg Jets, where he picked up 29 penalty minutes.
Blows me away.
Yep, and then Brendan Lemieux is the only one close. He's got 52 for the Rangers. The next highest at number 4 is Brendan Dillon with 44. So pretty big lead for Nick Ritchie and Eric Goodbranson right now with 54 penalty minutes and 53 penalty minutes. So yes, Nick Ritchie doesn't have to be an enforcer, I guess you could say, but he's still taking the penalties like he's an enforcer. So not
yeah, but he hasn't in recent games. I mean, I can't think of a game where he's in the last well, at least the last
against
week
Tampa,
or
he had
week
14. 2
Yeah, well, I'm
against
just
the
saying
Islanders, and 2 against
two.
Winnipeg. So not. I mean, 14
too
is what's
bad.
taking a dent in that, right? And obviously for Goodbranson, a 29 penalty minute night against the Winnipeg Jets is why he's even up at that point. All it takes is a guy anywhere around them to have a 15 to 30 minute penalty minute night off of, a couple fights, a misconduct, and ejection, and then they jump into that lead. I think the problem for Nick Ritchie is a lot of those have been minors. So that's
Yeah,
we can dive.
that's what annoys,
Yeah.
or at least annoys me, and I assume annoys a lot of Ducks fans. It's just like they're not smart penalties. Like you can lead the league in penalties if you're just beating the crap out of people in fights. But if you're not doing fights, you're doing minors or you're doing double minor penalties, and that's where you start to go like, all right, dude, cut the crap. Like at this point, just like either start playing. We're giving you top 6 minutes. Start doing that. I don't need you to be there messing around. Hopefully, Delorier maybe makes him feel he doesn't have to do it, but he's a big guy, and that's kind of his style anyway. So I don't think he's really gonna move away from it. It'll be interesting because I think the next game is against Washington. So I think Gudbranson's got a little bit of a few fights in him for the Spitgate 2019.
Yep.
So I'm sure Gudbranson will probably he might surpass old Richie boy there.
Yeah. I mean, I think in penalty minutes, it's like, are you Michael Haley or Milan Lucic, or are you, Matthew Tkachuk or Nazem Kadri? Like, Milan Lucic or
Producing
Michael,
while being annoying.
or are you
Marshall.
taking smart penalties, or are you also drawing a ton of penalties at the same time? Almost every year the 2 league leaders in drawing penalties are Nazem Kadri and Matthew Tkachuk. And sometimes with that territory, you end up taking a minor at the same time, and it's offsetting minors, and that happens. And right now Kadri's 11th in the league with 38 penalty minutes, and where was Matthew Tkachuk? He's 28th with 28 penalty minutes. So they're up there. They're in the top 30 in the league in penalty minutes, but they also draw a ton of penalties on their own as well. Nick Ritchie, not so much.
Richie does not. I can't think of one penalty he's drawn this season. And if he has, it's maybe 1 or 2.
And it'd be offsetting
and the
minors
production
just for the
level
refs
too.
kind of sending guys off, right? So
Yeah.
and I don't want to
coincidentals,
jump on Nick Ritchie because I have liked his play at times, right? He's not been horrible this year. He's been a play driver at times, but the dumb penalties have to stop. Like if he had 30 penalty minutes right now, 35, he's still up there, but it's fine. But that big headline as the league leader in penalty minutes right now, that's what I think is a big stopping block for people to try and get over. Is and he's had penalty troubles in the past, and now to be right now the league leader in penalty minutes, that's a lot for Ducks fans to handle at this point.
Yeah, especially when you're anticipating him doing one. It's like you almost have to be on your best behavior. And it's all right if you take a penalty, and I mean it's going to happen here or there. I just don't need to see it every game. Oh yeah, Rich is definitely going to the box. Like if you could just shed that persona for half a season, at least that kind of helps your case in the eyes of a lot of other players, GMs, fans, teams. I mean, it just goes a long way if you can kind of just clean that end of his game up, because he has been producing a lot better offensively, and he's seemed more versatile or more usable on any team, just based on how he has been producing offensively. It's just the drawback is what he's doing away from the puck.
Yeah, especially when your penalty kills, bottom third of the league, ranked 22nd. Not the best time, and not maybe the best year to be
to start slapping people
or
around.
having the 2 league leaders in penalty minutes right now. It's probably not the best situation. As for some more roster moves, Josh Manson back skating with the team, which is big news for the Ducks considering they've been rolling out on the right side. Jakob Larsson finally sent down to San Diego, which I think is going to be good for him. And Josh Mahura is back up. No Chris Weidman, which is something we speculated, but I think that comes with the territory. And Josh Manson being back, you don't really need another right-handed shot with the guys you have in the lineup. But good to see Manson back. Nice to see Mahura back up. And honestly, I don't want to say nice to see Larson sent down to San Diego, but hopefully he kind of refined his game a bit down there and can come up a lot more confident player.
Yeah. It's a necessary evil at this point. It's just like, hey, not even get better, it's just develop. And if you're developing, then you'll get better. You'll make your way back up here. So, yeah, we're all hopeful for it. It'll happen at some point, But as people start coming back into the lineup, we start seeing a little bit more of that Ducks defense we were hoping to see through most of the season. So, some guys are gonna get that chance to prove themselves and develop their game and get top line minutes in San Diego.
Yeah, and not so bad. I mean, San Diego's playing good right now, and Jakob Larsson's going to go down there and get some significant minutes. It's not like he's going to go down there and play third-pairing minutes in the AHL as well, so he'll have the opportunity to impress. So hopefully he can do that, because I like what he can bring to the table, and I still think he has potential. Just needs to refine a couple areas of his game, and sometimes you need some time in the AHL to get that done. So hopefully he does. John Gibson was sick. Anthony Stolarz is up.
John Gibson, he's always injured. Always can't make games.
Throw this in the bin. He's
another one. The
he's
sniffles.
Sick,
I can't believe this dude.
Yeah. But Anthony Stolarz is up. Doubt he plays because the Ducks are off till Friday, so more so that he's up to just in case he's not ready, so that he's warmed up. And
it was there for the Kings game. Essentially, it was just like, hey, we got a game, and he's Gibson's under the weather. You're in San Diego. Hey, come up here real quick. We'll just kind of let it go. I mean, at this point, I'm sure Gibson will be good to go come Friday. If not in a starter role, at least a backup role.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. One guy we didn't mention. We were talking about the All-Star game. One guy we didn't talk about. So we talked about Getzlaf. Over the last 4 games, Getzlaf led the way with 1 goal and 3 assists. Tied with this man I want to talk about right now, Cam Fowler. Also had 1 goal and 3 assists. He's on pace for 15 goals and 44 points on the season, which are both career highs for him. I think he's sitting at 5 goals and, I think 13 assists right now. I'll have to double check that. But he's having a great year. Career year for him right now. Outside consideration for the All-Star game, if they're struggling to find guys, I think it's a stretch a bit, because he's got only 15 points in 28 games. And he's a defenseman. And there's too many other better defensemen in our division that, I mean, he's going to have to overcome, a Carlson, a Burns. He's going to have to overcome Ekman Larson. He's going to overcome Quinn. Edler's had a good season too. I mean, he's going to have to do a whole lot to all of a sudden be a Pacific Division defenseman. So, and especially when they're going to be looking more like a Getzlaf or a Silverberg or even possibly a Gibson, it's hard for him to crack through on that one unless he's outstanding. Unless he's at 10 goals, it's going to be hard for him to break through on that one over the next little bit here. But
despite that, it's good. It's damn good.
Career on pace for career highs in goals and points. I don't think for assists, but in goals and points right now, he's on pace for career highs, which is great for him. I mean, to see him hit 44, which is 4 more points than his career high, and I think 15 goals is 4 more than his career high of 11. That's nice to see that bit of improvement from Cam Fowler and kind of a rebound back to what we hoped he could be, which was a 40-plus point defenseman, which is huge for the Ducks because they really haven't had too many seasons from defensemen where they've eclipsed that 40-point mark in the last little while. So if he could become that consistent guy who could threaten for over 10 goals and over 40 points from the blue line, that's a nice complementary piece, especially if they can eventually go out and get that puck-moving defenseman who can put up 50-plus.
He's elite if you think of him as a 3rd or 4th defenseman, and the Ducks were hoping to have your Lindholm and your Manson as your 1-2, and that shut down, play the big minutes, and then let Fowler be what Fowler can do, which is an amazing skater. He's still good defensively, and that skating ability is kind of shines in what he can do defensively, but he's also got the offensive talent as well. Now, take away your Lindholm through injury, your Manson through injury, his D partner Goulier. They literally just made Cam Fowler your shutdown, your top guy, and he's got to do everything. And then surround him with 4, 5, and 6, or 7 or 8 type defensemen. I mean, so he started off really hot, kind of slowed down, but as these guys start coming back into the fold, I think you kind of see that production probably pick up a little bit more. Hopefully he can do even better than he has. But I feel like the injuries have kind of almost slowed him down just a little bit because he's had to really kind of take on maybe a larger role. But I think if you have two guys that can play 1 and 2 and you keep him as a third, he's a damn good third to have on there. And especially one that is so creative offensively and such a great skilled skater that I feel, he could eclipse every offensive category he's had, and he hasn't had a really great coach to let that happen in recent years. So I think Eakins really likes to go ahead and let those guys kind of run loose if they're able to do it. And I think that shows in Cam Fowler's game. Ever since Carlisle was gone, he's been just kind of a much better offensive defenseman.
Yeah, he's a very good second pairing defenseman. I think when you look league wide, I think any team would be happy to have a player of Cam Fowler's ability on their second pairing, especially a guy who can skate as well as Cam, can make the first pass, and over the last I think 4 or 5 seasons has been one of the best defensemen in the league when it comes to zone exits and zone entries. So that's a great asset to have, and I think one of the reasons he's excelling so much in Aiken's system is his running gun hockey. And Cam Fowler is one of the faster players on the ice when you look at I guess any player, but opposing blue lines for sure. That is his type of game. That's something he's going to excel in if that's the style the Ducks are going to play, and we've seen that this year. And I think with Lindholm and Manson back, where you can shelter him a bit and help him out and put him in some better situations, I think he'll only get better this year. I think to say he could hit over 50 points is a bit of a stretch. But to say he could keep this pace up and hit around 15 goals and 45 points, I think that's a realistic landing spot for him, especially with eventually Lindholm and Manson coming back, getting paired together, Gooley and Fowler together likely for most of the season, barring any injuries, hopefully not. It could be a very good year for Cam Fowler, and really the year we've been waiting for since his sophomore year, right? His rookie year broke out, and his rookie year has been his best year of his career, and that generally you're supposed to get better after your rookie season. So it'd be nice to see Cam Fowler eclipse those numbers and start trending into a more consistent direction.
And if they could just get a coach that knows how to do a power play, that would be beautiful.
There was
for
one
him,
available. I wonder how
there was
Columbus's
one. He's
power
gone
play.
now. Now he's in Columbus.
The first
second
game
he
we
got
talked
picked
about
up,
it was 3 and 5. They were 3 for 5 the night he got picked up.
Shocker. I mean, not like he had a whole lot of time to implement exactly how he was going to do his stuff. So I don't think he had a huge hand in that. But with the Walrus, I was once that happened in Columbus, it just one single tear just fell down, and I got over it. But I was just like, we could really use that help right now, especially someone that's familiar with most of the team.
I don't know where Columbus power play was before he came over.
I was literally trying to figure out. All right, I need to know this, and then next time I'm on, I'm gonna have the difference.
Because his power play now is 9th in the NHL. And when he was brought in, the narrative was they were having power play troubles. So has he turned their power play around? I really wish I knew their rank before he came on. But if the narrative was they were having troubles, I would assume they were probably bottom third in the league. And if that's the case, Paul McLean has come in
top third
and taken this team from a below 20 ranked power play, potentially, we don't know for sure, to a top 10 power play.
I just want to see what their percentage is. So take the game that he jumped in and they went 3 for 5, and then what they've done since then. And it's only been 2 weeks or something like that. So you got to think about 7 games. I want to see maybe over the last 7 games or something like that. What have they done in those 7 games? And if their numbers are 40% all of a sudden, then it's what I've been saying, man. Needed that guy back, the Walrus. All that talent's in the mustache, man. Just trickles down to the players.
Hired November.
It's 2 weeks.
21st.
Okay.
He got hired.
So 2 weeks ago.
No, we got to do some investigative journalism here.
Okay.
So he got hired on November 21st. The Jackets have played, I think that first game against Detroit, that night he got hired. They were 3 for 5 on the power play. After that, they had Winnipeg. They lost 4-3, beat Ottawa 1-0, lost to Philly 3-2, beat Pittsburgh 5-2, lost to New York 2-0, lost to Arizona 4-2. I struggle to think that all those goals over that stretch were power play goals.
They're all power play goals.
But I don't know. I'm not going to go look into it right now, but it would be interesting to see his impact so far on their power play. It at least on the surface looks like it's been positive, which is definitely something the Ducks could use, and somebody who could orchestrate a power play like that and get some of these guys going. I mean, the last time Paul McLean was here, had the Ducks power play ranked number 1. So not to say
literally got brought in to make the power play good, made it number 1, and then they said, "Well, that was thank you for all that." Carlisle, come on, you're going to coach. Bye, Paul McLean. Your mustache is awesome. Thanks. And then he hadn't worked until he just got hired as a assistant for the power play in Columbus. Ugh, still bugs me.
Yeah, nobody touched him until Columbus decided to go after him, and obviously looks like it's paying dividends right now. I mean, just to look at their last couple games, they had 1 power play goal in their last game, 2 in their game against Pittsburgh, and obviously none in the shutout. I get that when they got shut out by the Islanders, but just quickly going back through the games here, it looks like Paul McLean has had an impact. I mean, they've had a power play goal, it seems like, in almost every other game since he's come on board there. So
and multiples,
maybe one day
within games. One day, yeah.
Jay Northcott had a question in our chat. He said, with Manson coming back, do you think we're going to see Manson and Mahura as a D pair, or go right back to Manson and Lindholm? Mahura was with Manson in practice. I don't know if I want to read into that too much. I really hope it doesn't go Lindholm, Goodbranson, Mahura and Manson, and Gooley and Fowler.
You crap on Goodbranson, but I don't think he's that bad. Besides the penalty. I know, but it was just that one game.
The prospect of having Manson back with Lindholm, and then say, you know what, now we're going to put Goodbranson with Lindholm instead.
Well, I mean, you've put Manson and Lindholm together this season, and it wasn't exactly stellar. I mean, no offense to Manson, but I mean, his game's a little bit off, and even Lindholm's not able to kind of pull him out of it. I would still, my opinion, give them that next opportunity to try and give them a few games to try and see if that chemistry can come back. But it seems like whatever happened last season, that chemistry was gone. Like, because it wasn't last season, it was the season before, they were obviously 1-2, and they worked well together. Everything got kind of mixed up last year, but they tried again this year, and it never really seemed to click at any point. So I give him a little bit more of a chance, but I'm not too opposed to Goodbranson filling that physical right-handed shot role if he works well with Lindholm, and see what Manson can do, although Manson's numbers are always horrific if he's not with Lindholm.
I wouldn't mind seeing Mahura with Manson, though. I think that could potentially work well. I don't think we've ever seen that at all. So I'd be interested to see for the upcoming game on Friday if that's something they go with, or strictly that was just for this one practice that we've seen so far. But yeah, if you're going to put anybody with Goodbranson, I think Lindholm's a good choice to kind of alleviate some of the defensive responsibility, so Goodbranson isn't kind of bogged down with that and tasked with the difficult decisions on a pairing, because that's when I think he struggles. So if you give him a reliable partner like Hampus Lindholm, I think his game can shine through a little bit better. And I'm not going to say he's looked bad. I still don't like the trade just because of the contract and everything involved with that.
Contract's a trade. It's trade bait come trade deadline.
You think somebody would take Goodbranson at trade deadline?
Yeah, I think someone would when they're looking at, because he was a first round pick, was he not?
Yeah, but I mean,
first round pick,
Martinson in the
big guy, can add depth during a playoff run. So a contender would easily maybe pick that up, because they don't get the full $4 million from this year. It's just whatever the last end of that season is. They get that, and then maybe they're on the hook for $4 million next year. But if they're looking to make a push, or they think that he can add some physical play or some depth on there, I think is absolutely a good trade possibility, especially a right-handed shot guy. And if the Ducks aren't
retain some salary on that, I think they have to retain at least $1 million and a half if they try and trade him especially to a contending team at the deadline. 90% of contending teams at the deadline are really, really close to the cap, and I know it's less of a cap hit at that point, but trying to convince the
That's
team
16
to.
teams that are trying.
Yeah, but I mean,
16
we're
teams might
saying
get in. I mean, I don't think Tampa or Washington is looking to add a Goodbrunson, but a team that might need that little bit of pop on defense and a little bit of size. They might be willing to go like, hey, listen, we got a little bit of cap room next year. Let's see if this guy can kind of help us out in that little kick on defense that we need, or that depth on defense we need, get us into the playoffs, see where we can go from there. And they're willing to take most of that $4 million, I would say.
you want Pims.
So it's not out of the realm of
Pims.
possibility.
If a GM needs Pims for his fantasy team, then maybe Goodbranson's a good choice.
Tom Wilson's better, but go ahead. Or Nick Ritchie is actually the only other person who's better.
Yeah. Or Brendan Lemieux has been my guy for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Troy Terry, because he's been heating up for the Ducks over the last 4 games. I've been very critical of Troy Terry for most of the season, but he had 1 goal and 1 assist in over this 4
I thought you were all high on Troy Terry.
No, Pat's high on Troy Terry.
Okay, yeah.
And then I convinced him that Troy Terry's been the worst of the 4 rookies this year. And I think you were the only one who didn't agree with that. Pat's been...
Yeah, I don't agree. Like, I think Troy Terry's good. The skill's there. It's just the execution hasn't been there. And I hate, people maybe say, well, what's the difference between skill and execution? It's just like the talent's there. It just doesn't go. And I think Max Jones is probably a perfect example. You've seen everything he can do, and he just doesn't execute at the right moment, at the right time to make it happen. So Troy Terry, yeah, he's gotten better since he took that one time off, and Pat was like, well, just send him down. What's the point of having him on there if you're just watching? I'm like, sometimes just taking a different perspective and seeing the game changes things. He goes, well, we'll see. And then sure enough, like, he's actually started to play much better from there. It's just take a step back, stop holding the stick so tight, and just get in good spots, make a good shot, and see what happens. So I think he's done a lot better recently.
Yeah, over the last 4 games, if you just look at underlying numbers, he's been the Ducks' most efficient and productive forward on offense. The 1 goal, 1 assist is second to Getzlaf and Cam Fowler. But his Corsi for percentage is 67.02 is tops over the last 4 games, so he's generating a ton of shot attempts while on the ice and not allowing too many. And again, if you think, he's been on the line with Ryan Getzlaf, but he's the only Ducks forward plus 60%. And the next highest is Getzlaf, I think, at like 57, 58. And then there's only a couple more players over the last 4 games above 50%. That's more of a Troy Terry thing. And Troy Terry just doing very well when he has the puck on his stick. Again, expected goals for, he's leading the Ducks over the last 4 games with 75.9%. High danger chances for, over the last 4 games, 82.45%, and then scoring chances for is just under 80% while he's on the ice at 5-on-5 over the last 4 games. He's just generating offense. That's all he's doing. And the production, you would like to see a bit better than a goal and an assist in 4 games, especially a player producing that well in terms of shot attempts and scoring chances and expected goals for. You would hope that he would be up there with Getzlaf and Fowler, having 4 points, if not more, over the last 4 games. So maybe that's the one downside to all this, but at least he's trending, it seems, in the right direction.
Yeah, his underlying numbers are good. The visual test, it's better than it has been through the start of the season, but it's not. I guess if your expectation is for him to be on the top line or play with the Getzlaf, you kind of expect him to be, I don't want to say over the top. You expect him to be pronounced. You expect to see, oh, there's Troy Terry. Oh, Troy Terry's doing Troy Terry things. And it's more or less, he's in the area and he's around a good play, but he's not driving the play or he's not making the play happen. And even though his underlying stats seem like that's maybe happening, if you watch the games, he's there and he's close. He's just off a little bit. And once again, that execution where it's just a little bit off. Now, that's not to say he's a bad player. He'll never amount to anything or anything like that, because his numbers are very similar to what Raquel or Corey Perry when they first started playing. It's very similar. It takes, 82 games, and all of a sudden you kind of get into that rhythm. Then all of a sudden pucks start going in. Those things that you maybe would pass up, you don't, and you make a shot and it goes in. So we were hoping, I would think, that he was going to kind of accelerate a little bit quicker, and we were kind of waiting for that to happen and giving him the good minutes and the good line mates to make that happen. It hasn't quite happened, but once again, just don't push it, don't rush it. Anything he does, positive, just keep it going, and eventually it'll fall into place as it normally does.
Yeah, I think you can only go so long driving play and contributing to offense the way Troy Terry has been over the last 4 games before pucks start going in for you. Like it's going to happen as long as he can consistently play like this over the next 10 to 15 games.
Kasha's doing that, or Kasha, however you call him.
Yeah,
right? I mean, he
the
tries
points
to
have been
play
going
crazy.
in. It's
Yeah,
been
kind
happening.
of, but it took a while. Not to the point. I mean, I would say almost like the ratio of like you would see how good Kasha is doing, and you go like, man, you should have points there, and they're not there. But it's not like he's bad. Whereas sure, Terry is like on a smaller scale. He's kind of doing some similar things. You just like the point should be there. They're just not there yet. But I think that's the difference between a young player figuring out where he's going to fit in the NHL versus Akasha, who, although young, knows what he's supposed to be doing, and eventually those things start going in. So we'll see what happens with Terry, but
I hope he starts producing, because the Ducks need one of their younger guys to start producing at a high level here. If Sam Steele's been
20 goals out of one of
them, yeah. And we at the beginning of the season we ran a poll, and at least all of them got votes. Comtois was the eventual winner of that poll. Over a majority of over 50% said that and that was for 25 goals. If which of these Ducks forwards could hit 25, and we had Steele, Comtois, Terry, and Jones. And again, the fact that all of them received votes showed how split Ducks fans were and how, I guess, hyped they were for these young guys this season. And now we'd be lucky if one of them hit 20 goals, not even 25, to say the least. And
yeah. Do you think any Duck player hits 25?
I think so this year. There's a few on pace for it. I think Silverberg
Getzlaf?
Can do it. Getzlaf is on pace for 26.
What about your boy Raquel?
I think the 2 best Ducks players to have a chance at hitting 25 plus are Silverberg and Raquel. I think outside shot to Ryan Getzlaf and Adam Henrique, but Henrique's already kind of cooled off a bit. Derek Grant, the way he's playing right now, he's on pace. He's on pace for around 25. I don't think
elite center number 1.
I don't think that happens for him. I would love for it to happen for him. I think Andre Kasha still has an outside shot because he has the potential to get hot, and the way he shoots the puck, it's never out of the question until maybe we start hitting the halfway mark of the season. But I think Silverberg and Raquel have really good shots.
We're struggling to try and find a or multiple 25 goal scorers. That's not a good sign.
No. And that kind of leads us into our next topic. Fellow writer at the Hockey Writer with the Ducks, Anthony Sherdelli, he put out an article titled "Do the Ducks Need a Sniper?" and referenced Taylor Hall, which we've talked about in the past, referenced Mike Hoffman, who's also an unrestricted free agent with the Florida Panthers, has 10 goals so far this season. And then Eric Stevens put out an article on Taylor Hall, hypothetical, if the Ducks could get him, should get him, will they get him? We've talked about this before, but in a general sense, do the Ducks need a sniper to make the playoffs this year?
I wouldn't say to make the playoffs. I would say to do anything substantial in the playoffs, absolutely, because they might be able to sneak into the playoffs. And I'm not saying they're getting the playoffs. Just look at us, we're walking in, we got it. It's like, oh my God, we got in. We just barely crawl ourselves over that. And then once they get there and everything shuts down offensively, this team is not going to go very far, in my opinion. Can they make the playoffs? Yes. Do they need a sniper to do it? No. Do they need to do anything to get them far in the playoffs? They absolutely need someone to step up and score. I mean, at this point, you're asking, we've just been talking about it, you're asking Ryan Getzlaf to kind of almost lead the way, or Silverberg. And other than that, you're going to have depth scoring somewhere. You're just going to have a go-to guy, someone that can put the puck in the net. Can Hall do it? He can. He's shown it in the past, but he's he's not off to a great start this year either. I mean, New Jersey's not in any capacity. Hoffman's a bit of a stretch. I think Florida is not really willing to get rid of him because of how well they're doing, and he can light up later, even though he's only got 10 goals now. He can easily light up later. So I don't feel there's
free agent, which doesn't play into Bob Murray's typical plans when it comes to searching for a player.
And especially if you're trying to get someone of that caliber who can put up goals, you're going to pay a premium price through younger players or draft picks, and that's not Bob Murray's style. So I mean, he's not going to get a rental, not a high profile one at least.
Yeah, and that's the case that Eric Stevens made it for Taylor Hall. The case he said for is the Ducks would get, the best finisher they've had since Corey Perry and obviously Bobby Ryan before that. Having a player who could hit 30 goals plus and 80 to 90 points would be definitely ideal and be something the Ducks desperately need. And the fact that, Taylor Hall knows Adam Henrique from playing in Jersey, knows Cam Fowler from playing with him in Windsor when they won a Memorial Cup back in the OHL. It's a long time ago. So I don't know how much
you're making a pull there. It's like,
hey, that's Eric Stevens.
We knew each other that one time 8 years ago.
I don't put much stock into guys playing together in junior and it working out. But hey, I mean, Dylan Strome and Alex DeBrincat was working in Chicago last year, and they, the whole thing around that was they played together in Erie. And it was working there. I mean, they're a little bit less removed from the OHL than Taylor Hall and Cam Fowler are. So there's some merit maybe there. Eric Stevens' case against is something we've already mentioned. One, he's a UFA. We'd be looking to get a 7 to 8 year deal, depending, obviously, if the 8 year deal he'd have to sign with New Jersey. Sign and trade would probably be the way Bob Murray would go if that happened, and that would be a 7 or 8 year deal at north of $8 to $9 million, which I can't see happening. And he's 28, or he's turning 28, I think. So that contract would take him to 35 or 36, which is not something I think the Ducks want to get tied up to at this point. And then also thrown into that the fact they'd have to give up likely a first round pick this year. Because of their position, they would have to make sure it's top 5 or top 10 protected, which means if they did miss the playoffs and finish that low with Taylor Hall on the team, it'd be an Ottawa Senators situation where next year's pick would be unprotected and at the taking for the New Jersey Devils, which is not a situation you want to be in. We saw that with the Senators. They got lucky that they didn't fall at number 1 and lose out on Jack Hughes or Capo Caco. But there's so many working pieces, and the Ducks would have to give up that pick, and Maxime Comtois likely, if not an Andre Kasher or something else, to get a player like Taylor Hall. And I just don't think Taylor Hall pushes them into that Stanley Cup competition. I think it makes them a team that can compete and can surprise some people, but they're not good enough in other areas to say that they are even competitive in the Western Conference. If the Ducks were desperate like Columbus was last year just to get in the playoffs in a playoff win, a series win, then maybe. They missed the playoffs last year. It's tough for this market to miss multiple years, but Bob Murray has said almost from the outset, from the end of last year all the way through this whole offseason, it's not a full transition. It's not a rebuild. It's just the kids are going to make that transition to make this team a little bit better, and there's going to be growing pains. There's a new coach, younger players. Old guys are kind of going out. New guys are coming in, and they're going to figure it out. They're not going to mortgage more of that stuff just on the hopes that we might make the playoffs and that guy might make some sort of difference. This team's not capable of winning the Stanley Cup, in my opinion, unless a whole lot of things go right. And John Gibson just is all of a sudden John Gibson of the first few months of every season in the playoffs. That's about the only way I can see it going really far. And Bob Murray is a conservative GM. He's not one that ever goes out. And if he ever does, you take notice. Who's this guy? So don't be surprised. I mean, he's got 2 more years on his contract that takes him through the next expansion. He's not going to sit here and try and make some bold move all of a sudden out of character to get a team that, barely into the playoffs, maybe to get out of the first round. It's just, he's not going to do that. It's just not his style. And honestly, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, it's a fun pipe dream, and maybe, hey, that would be great to see if that actually happened, but what are you giving up for it?
it's your satisfaction now and you're mortgaging the future for it, and it doesn't make sense. It should make sense to anybody who really cares about the Ducks.
No. I want to throw a couple names at you here. A few of them, I think most of these guys, if not all of them, are UFAs. I want to get your idea, your opinion on if you would make a trade if you're the Ducks to get these guys. I feel like most of these are probably a no. One we just talked about, Taylor Hall. Got that answer from you. That's a no. Mike Hoffman. We kind of talked about him a bit.
I don't think he's really that available. I mean, yeah, he's a unrestricted free agent and might be trade bait, but I think Florida is doing a lot better than they were to start the season, and they're going to want that goal scoring. So I don't even think he's really an option, even though he kind of fits the criteria, underproducing, about to be an unrestricted free agent. I think he did enough last year, and he's going to continue. He'll pick it up as time goes on, and Florida needs that extra goal scoring. So, no.
The next guy fits into your idea earlier in the show on having bigger guys who can muck it up, get the dirty goals in front of the net. It's Chris Kreider of the New York Rangers. I believe he's an unrestricted free agent as well. Or at least has one more year. He's either got unrestricted free agent this year.
How old is he? I feel like that name's
26, I think. 20,
I
27 at most. He's not much older than that.
I feel like that's a name I've heard forever. No, I mean, it's a depth move, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Rangers accelerated their rebuild very quickly in getting Panarin and getting Kakko. I just don't think that they're willing to give up a guy like that. So it's like, it's fun to think of these guys as available, but I just don't think they really are. Like, you go, oh, yeah, well, you're a strict free agent, so they might be looking to move them. But look at where the team is, and are they really willing to move them? And I just don't think anyone at most 27, and we're saying he's probably more like 25 or 26.
28.
That's
I just checked. Yeah, he's 28.
Okay, I was going to say, so he said 27 at most.
No, to be fair, all of these guys, Hoffman,
fair,
Hall, Kreider, and the next one I'm going to mention is Jason Zucker, have all been either this season or at the end of last season involved in trade rumors from reputable sources of guys that are potentially going to be involved in trades, or the team has been exploring trades.
But literally, the Rangers were like, we're in a long rebuild. And then they got Panarin. And then they got Kakko.
That's this season.
Yeah,
Kreider
that's
trade
this
rumors.
year. So now it's like, all right. Wait,
Kreider trade rumors
we're
are
kind of relevant.
as old as only 2 weeks old.
Yeah.
So that's
he's a guy I would like on the Ducks, but it's not like someone that just, once again, I just feel like, yeah, maybe he's second line, maybe he does something on the power play, but at what cost? And I think the Rangers are better equipped to keep him for a couple more years or re-sign him if they want. But I mean, if they feel like they're not going to make the playoffs and they can get a lot of value out of it, once again, it's more like they have the value and the Ducks aren't willing to overspend for anything. So if there's something of value, the Ducks better be in a position that value makes sense now. Strike it. Let's do it. We'll mortgage a little bit of it if it makes enough sense for us now. And the Ducks aren't in that position. They just, I almost think there's no one they're really going to go back. No, I don't think so. I think the Ducks are.
If you could pick somebody right now, like realistically,
I love
Ovechkin. Realistically, if you could pick somebody right now that the Ducks could go out and get, just taking out the ridiculous names like Ovechkin and McDavid and Draisaitl and those guys, if there was a guy you could go out and make an argument that the Ducks could actually go out and get this guy, do you have a name that you would want the Ducks to go get right now?
Literally just checking things off, and there's no one that's in a top six.
You can say no. I'm just wondering if you have a name or not.
Yeah. No, and I don't think that's what the Ducks want to do, and I don't think that's what Bob Murray wants the team to do. I think he wants the team to go through this season, its ups and its downs, its learning curves, and let those younger players develop into the players they need to be, and then revisit this next year and see if there's better unrestricted free agents that are coming up, and see if it goes from there. But right now, this team is too it's too erratic. It's too erratic to hitch a horse to it and go, listen, we're willing to drop a lot of assets to pick up somebody that's going to maybe push us over the edge, because you don't know really what you're going to get with, when you put your in kids that haven't quite done it yet. They're going to be there. They're going to be good. I don't have any qualms with that. It's just it's not this year, and so it's just like, let's ride this out. Let's try and get in the playoffs. Let's get experience. Next year we become a different team, a much more experienced team from a young prospect, and then young prospect sort of viewpoint. But then also it's just like, Cam Fowler has turned into a very good leadership role. I think Getzlaf's still there. He can obviously produce goals now if he wants to. And you still got Gibson. Hopefully Miller's still there. So this team is a year removed from being a more dominant force. And to try and mortgage what you have, to try and just force you into the playoffs or possibly out of the first round of the playoffs when there's really no realistic way of you getting to the finals or to get in the Stanley Cup finals. It doesn't make sense to me. So there's no one I would really want to get that would have value that we'd have to give up future considerations for.
Yeah, the chat's really split on this. So Dave is kind of on the same wavelength as you, where he said, I wouldn't want to see the Ducks trade for anybody this season if it means getting rid of prospects or draft picks. If we're not expecting to contend this year, then what's the
good
point
man,
of trading,
that Dave.
trading for anybody unless the Ducks are trading for prospects or high draft picks? That's generally the boat I tend to sit myself into, in the sense I don't think it makes sense right now for the Ducks to go out and get players. But Apparition makes a good point on his end, on kind of the opposite side of the argument. He says, to me, prospects are just prospects. They may or may not work out. If you can get a for sure established player to help out and take the pressure off the young guys going forward, that's worth it to me. I see some merit in that argument too. I know I don't think it means selling the farm to go get Taylor Hall. But some names that were brought up in the chat are Jesse Puljujarvi, who the Oilers just lost out on him for the entire NHL season because they missed the deadline to get submit a qualifying offer or something like that. So he can't play regular season or playoffs this year. So trade value on him is at an all-time low for the Edmonton Oilers right now. So maybe you can go out and get him for cheap. You wouldn't get him this year, but if you could get him for cheap, you can maybe have him next year. And he's a former third overall pick and is a good option for the Ducks there. Phil said Matt Zuccarello or Rasmus Ristolainen. We've heard Ristolainen's name before, but apparently the price was too high. And Realized 92 said Colin Miller. And that's a guy we mentioned when he was in Vegas before he got sent to Buffalo as a possible good option for the Ducks. And clearly Vegas did not want to send him in division.
Can we just get Montour back? I know how much you love Montour. Let's get Montour back.
Maybe. I mean, that trade, that'll trade all depends on Braden Tracy, in my opinion, what he ends up turning out to be. But yeah, I think people all kind of spread over the place on right now what the Ducks should do. If I had one name, and this name has not changed over the last 5 years, of who I would want. This player has jumped, I think, 2 different teams now.
Just say my name.
Was in Detroit when I wanted
him.
Went to Vegas, didn't do anything in Vegas. Went to Montreal, and now he's an absolute stud in Montreal.
Tatar.
Thomas Tatar. That is the guy I would love to have on this team. Possession monster, putting up the points this year. Almost a point per game player. Phil called it, Thomas Tatar. He is just the player I think would work perfectly with a player like Ryan Getzlaf. Man, I can't say enough about him. I think he's one of the best. What?
Why'd you propose to your girlfriend? Just propose to this dude.
I would if I could, but he's got.
He's in Canada. He's close. You can do it.
No, he's got a girlfriend who's a lot harder than me, so that.
That's just fly. Because there's a goalie doesn't mean you can't score.
Yeah, there you go. But no, in all seriousness, Thomas Tatar, the Montreal Canadiens, 8-game losing streak before breaking it against the New York Islanders. Not saying they'd be sellers at any point, but Tatar is on the older end.
Cost.
I mean, if it cost me second round pick and Max Jones,
you think they'd give him just a second?
I'd take it. I think Thomas Tatar right now, a player who can put up 50 or 60 points in a season, even at his age, he's I think 27 or 28. I think 50 or 60 points is more than Max Jones will put up at any point in his career. I don't think Max Jones will be a 50 or 60 point player. I think he has the size on Thomas Tatar, but I don't think the Ducks need to have that type of size. Maxim Comtois is a guy I'd be reluctant to give up, but is he ever going to be a 50 or 60 point player?
What about Troy Terry?
Troy Terry is a guy I would consider throwing into that as well, into that discussion and in a deal to bring in a player like Thomas Tatar.
I would
also, yeah.
Yes,
you're reluctant about that? I mean,
no,
what are Troy
Max
Terry
Jones,
and Max Jones going to be? Are they going to be 20 goal scorers and 50 to 60 point players on the absolute high end of their ceiling? Maybe, but I can't see
for multiple seasons. No, I would absolutely say Max. I've watched Max Jones' game, and I'm just waiting for it to click, and I'm not willing to give up on essentially what's added up to maybe one season, and him not quite hitting it because he has. We've talked about this before, where he's got that same kind of X factor as Akasha does, where it doesn't matter who he plays with. You notice the dude. The dude creates plays. He creates chaos. He creates, a little bit of friction in there. So yeah, he's got size and the physical part of it, but that's kind of a smaller part of his game. I think he just has the tenacity to go in there, where Troy Terry is more of that perimeter player, and he'll look for the good chances. He might make the good shot here and there, but that'll become hit or miss, and it'll become a little bit not there. I think, in my opinion, Max Jones will develop more into your 20-goal scorer, 25-goal scorer. In my opinion, over the course of his career, I think we have such a small sample size, but just in that small sample size, I see the talent and the drive and the ability to drive play that I don't see in Troy Terry. And even though Tatar is good, you're asking him to be an impact player on this season, next season, and then you're hoping he's going to be good third season down. The Ducks aren't going to be that team this season, so you're hoping next season is where everyone breaks out, because otherwise, whatever you gave up for Tatar is now you're hoping Tatar in the third or fourth season of contract, or however long you have him, that is better than what you gave up. And you might be able to find that, but if Troy Terry all of a sudden starts killing it, or Max Jones starts playing better, just like Max Domi started playing way better on Montreal as well. It's just you can all of a sudden just give up a good young player to try and get this 28-year-old player and get a couple good seasons out. I could see it if the Ducks were really close and they needed that extra little kick. Then I get more of the Tatar for a Max Jones or something like that. But in my opinion, my expectation of where the Ducks are going to go in the playoffs isn't that high. And I don't think even next season it's really worth giving up a guy who can really propel you 5 years down the road.
Max Domi was also a 12th overall pick once upon a time. So he had that potential ceiling that we were waiting for him to hit. Troy Terry, if I had to pick between Troy Terry and Max Jones, it would be Troy Terry that I would involve in a trade for Thomas Tatar. And honestly, I think it'd be Troy Terry would be the guy that Montreal would be looking for. I think they have players like Max Jones in their team, and I think Troy Terry would be a guy they'd be looking to fill in there. And maybe they, instead of the pick, they want a player like Jakob Larsson or something along those lines to kind of help out on both ends of the ice. I don't think it's impossible. Maybe it's Troy Terry and Nick Ritchie or something like that. I don't know, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
What do you think Tatar would do if he got on the Ducks? So not necessarily this year. Say it's a wash, and they get him. They get him for Troy Terry and Jakob Larsson, and now it's next season, and it's Tatar. You think he's getting 30 goals?
No, I think he's getting 20 to 25, 50 to 55 points. Potentially more if he's playing the entire season with Ryan Getzlaf. If he plays with Ryan Getzlaf is the best center he's played with in his entire career. The best passer he's played with his entire career. With a shot that like a player like Thomas Tatar possesses, I think he could do very well with Ryan Getzlaf. I think it's the Bob Murray type contract you're looking for. A player, a 50 to 60 point player at only $4.8 million, and he's locked in for only this year and next year. That is a Bob Murray deal if I've ever seen one, to go after a player like that. And if you can send some salary back in the sense of Nick Ritchie's $1.8 million or whatever to kind of cover the cost a little bit, and then also, a younger player in Max Jones or Troy Terry, it doesn't decimate the Ducks. You get Tatar, who's an immediate upgrade over Nick Ritchie, and then you're supplementing that increase with a young player like Troy Terry, like Max Jones. I don't think Max Jones ever becomes a 20-goal, 50-point player. I think, on a very good year, playing with some very good players, he could hit 20 goals. I think he could maybe get close to 40 points, but I just don't think he's that type of player. And Troy Terry, I put him in that same realm. I don't think he's a consistent 20-goal scorer. I think he's more of a passer. I could see him at 40, 45 points in a good year, but I cannot see him. I think when it's all said and done, I think you look at these players' careers after they're done, I think Thomas Tatar is the better player than what Max Jones and Troy Terry become. That's projecting. I have no idea, obviously, and I'm not going to say I'm an expert on what these guys are going to come on, but that's
talking out of my ass.
That's just my personal opinion on Max Jones and Troy Terry. Is I think a lot of people have hyped them up a bit more than what they'll end up producing, and I could eat my words down the road if Troy Terry and Max Jones become 50 to 60 point players, but there's not that many of those guys in the league to say that there's so many of these guys that, Max Jones and Troy Terry could easily become 50 to 60 point players. Like 50 to 60 point players are at a premium in this league. There aren't many of them. And to say that Jones and Terry are going to be those guys, I have not seen enough to say that that's going to happen. And I know it's early, but I just can't see it.
The way in the season, do we have a 50-point getter already? And we're a quarter of the way in the season?
A guy on pace for it?
Doesn't someone have 50 points?
Oh, McDavid.
No. Someone's already got 50 points.
McDavid.
50, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. We're a quarter of the way this season. All right. What's I going to say? No. I'll just disagree. But not that I don't think your point is valid or that you couldn't be right. So I'm just kind of, I guess, on the opposite side. Like, will Max Jones be a consistent 20-goal, 50-point guy? I'm on the side of yes, he is. I could see him not doing it, but I'm more optimistic he can, just based, I guess, more on the eye test than anything. And if he actually gets top minute play times and I hate saying the word refine his game, but literally if he just shoots a little bit more instead of trying to make that last little play, then maybe you start seeing pucks go in the net. But he's got a good shot. He's got good instincts around the net. It's just the release and the finish. And if he can do that, we're in a lot better shape. And right now the Ducks are missing a whole lot of that finish, so it kind of amplifies when you see him not do it. But you're asking a kid who hasn't really gotten that great opportunity year in and year out to show what he can do. And yeah, it sucks. I don't even say it sucks that he's going to the AHL, but he's going to go there. And I think once again, it's just getting that I'm shooting, I'm going to do this, I'm not waiting around. I think you'll see a much better Max Jones as his career progresses. Troy Terry, I think he also will be better, but I think he'll also, his ceiling was cast really high, and I don't think he'll ever hit there. But I can kind of see him once again. I can see maybe 20, maybe 50 points, but definitely more of a assist guy than a goal scoring guy, unless he has a really hot season. So it's just, are we willing to go a season and a half at Tatar and willing to give up the future of what Terry or Jones could do? And I'm just not at a point where I think that I've given up on either of those two players who I don't think have played 100 games in their NHL career yet and just calling it, well, that's all we're going to get from them.
No, and I think that's completely feasible. By no means, like I said, am I an expert in predicting what these players could become.
God, no, you're Canadian.
Yeah, and that's my personal opinion on what their ceilings can be. But there are some Ducks players, Ducks prospects who are playing very well this year, and we'll kind of close the show talking about them. Benoit Olivier Groulx has last time I checked, so it could be more now, he had a 10-game point streak running in November, so he had points in every game for the Halifax Moose in the months of November. He has been named to Canada's World Junior Camp, which is great for him. The one player who hasn't, which kind of was more so headlines in Ducks community than it was anywhere else, but Braden Tracy was not brought to Canada's World Junior Camp. He's having an impressive season. He's one of the top point producers in the WHL on a point-per-game basis. He also signed his entry-level contract with the Ducks. So Grew is going to the camp. Doesn't mean he'll go to the tournament, but Canada routinely, they love to have players like Benoit Olivier Grew in the lineup. Guys who can win faceoffs at the rate that Benoit Olivier Grew can against his own age group. Canada finds it extremely valuable in tournaments like the World Junior Championship, and Grew's faceoff percentage in the queue right now is like 59%. So I find him, making the team in a second or third line role, getting some, penalty kill time, potentially some power play 2 time with Canada. I think he makes the team. I'm a bit surprised about Braden Tracy. I would have liked to see him at least get a shot at camp to do it, especially after signing his entry-level contract.
Yeah. I know so little about the process.
I know, but
I'm going to defer to you.
He's supposed. Again, he's part of the Brendan Gooley, Brandon Montour trade, right? He's supposed to be the goal scorer that the Ducks picked up in this draft. Trevor Zegras was the point getter, the playmaker. Braden Tracy was the goal scorer. And despite the only bad thing that's happened for Tracy this year is he got a 2-game suspension for an elbowing incident. Other than that, he's been producing at
the old Cogliano.
Yeah. It was pretty bad though. He deserves a suspension, but
I deserve that.
He's producing at like a 2-point per game pace, which is one of the best in the league. And just for him getting back, he started late because he had that injury that kept him out all of rookie camp and training camp for the Ducks and part of preseason as well. Stayed here into the WHL season, didn't get down there I think until 7 games in, so he's played less games. So maybe that has something to do with it. I'm not.
Yeah, that was my next question. Why would you think they wouldn't want him?
Yeah, and honestly, I think there's a couple things that go into that. When Sam Steele was in his draft plus 1 season, we thought he was going to go. He didn't go. He put up 130 points and led the CHL, the entire CHL in points in that season. So it's not the end of the world if he doesn't go. And Braden Tracy is on pace to have a very good season. And honestly, I think for him, as great as it is to go to that tournament, he's a guy who could benefit from sticking around and playing the entire season with the team and not having the distraction of going to the tournament. It helped out Sam Steele. I think it could help out Braden Tracy, especially since this is technically his sophomore season in the WHL. He was one of the rare players to not play a full rookie season when he should have. Deferred that, went back down to I think AAA, then played his rookie season in his draft year, which doesn't really happen. Put up big numbers. He needs to prove that wasn't a one-off, and I think not going to that tournament and sticking around with Moose Jaw over that couple week stretch of the tournament and playing well, I think is big for his game. I hope he does well. I honestly do, and I hope Grew makes the team. As for the other prospects, we got a question in the chat from Phil about Trevor Zegras, so we'll move on to the U.S. I think Trevor Zegras is a lock. He's producing at a point per game pace for Boston University. He's slowed down a bit, but he's still playing first line there, which is, again, impressive for a first-year freshman to be producing at a point per game pace in the NCAA. Not many guys are doing it this year. I think it's
at least that one I can semi-intelligently talk about, and that the goals he has scored have been otherworldly.
One from his knee. Not even just the goals he scored. He's known for his playmaking, and some of the passes that he's been able to make so far in his early time with Boston University have been unbelievable. This is a kid that all the kids that came from that National Development Team program so far, they've been all playing very well. And Turcotte, Caulfield, Thrun, another Ducks pick with Harvard. He's playing very, very well on defense. Not a guy who normally puts up points, and I think he's at a point per game pace last time I checked up on him. So, again, he's playing well. Spencer Knight's playing well, and obviously Trevor Zegras is playing very well. So I think he is as close to a lock as you can get for Team USA, and I think he's a top 6 player for them.
When do they announce the Team USA? Is that like tomorrow?
Team USA's camp, I think, is supposed to be announced on Friday. Now, this is just the camp, and then the rosters get finalized closer to World Juniors, which is World Juniors start on the 26th, which is Boxing Day in Canada, which is just another day of December for you guys. But,
yeah, so Boxing Day. Now Boxing Day is where you guys do all your shopping or something.
Yeah, it's like a mini Black Friday. We have Black Friday
you guys
here,
have-
but it's not as
Why do
big
you
a
guys
deal.
do Black Friday after Christmas?
It's not Black Friday, and the deals aren't as good, but there are some sales, and it's like
Is
the
this
day
also
that
an
everybody.
English thing too? An England thing and a
I don't
Canadian thing?
think so. I think it's just a Canadian.
Just you.
thing. Yeah, it's
So
just us.
Boxing Day. Why do you call it
But
Boxing Day? Because you
it's
buy
for
things,
me,
you put
it's
it on
always.
boxes, ship it.
I've never actually gone out. For me, it's always been the start of World Juniors, so it's just World Juniors Day for me. But Ziegler should be a lock for Team USA. Henry Thrun, I hope he makes the team. But the two outside ones, I think, are Blake McLaughlin, who's having a so-so year with Minnesota. He's there with Jack Perbix, who we interviewed both of them on the podcast after the draft year. So they're both there.
Hilarious interview.
And and Jackson Lacombe, Ducks' second-round pick from this past draft, is playing there as well. I think Blake McLaughlin
The
could
forward
make it.
slash defenseman.
Yes, and he's doing all right. He's not doing too bad there. As coming out of high
He's a
school.
youngin', right?
Yeah, and he played the high school
He was
circuit.
like at a Catholic or Christian high school or something like that, and then
No, he's at Shattuck
Like
St.
they-
Mary's. So that's
I always associate St. Mary's as Catholic or something.
no.
Is it?
I don't think it is, but it's like the hockey school when it comes to high school. Like it's like one of the main ones. Like Crosby went there, and a bunch of other top NHLers have gone through that program. So, but it's a big jump coming from high school to the NCAA, and Jackson Lacombe has done pretty well. So Blake McLaughlin is maybe an outside chance because I think he was there last year with the U.S. So maybe he kind of gets that that bit of a shortcut there, and him making the team. I think the most interesting one for me is Trevor Janicki because Notre Dame is one of the best teams in the NCAA, and this kid has come in and just played well. I think he's leading the team in goals, or he's second in the team in goals with 5 in his first few games with them so far. He had a 4-game goal scoring streak going on, and he's playing on their third line. So it's not like he's getting top line minutes there either. So he's been impressive. So I mean, if the Ducks can get Grew for Canada, Zegras, and maybe another 1 or 2 guys for the U.S., and then Lucas Dostal, he was on the camp for the Czechs, but I think everybody knew going into this that he was going to be the starting goaltender for the Czech Republic.
He's our guy. Yeah.
He's playing top. He's playing in the top league in Finland in Liga, and he's just dominating that league. Like insane numbers. His save percentage over his last 8 games is like 950. His goals against average is like 1.4 over that stretch too. And on the season, he's built it up after 3 bad starts to like a 922 and a 1.85 goals against average. So he's playing very, very well in a very difficult league. And what's his first full season in this league too? So this is as good a goalie as you're going to get in the tournament. He could honestly be the best goalie that we see at the tournament. I think Spencer Knight's going to be there, so that's saying something. That Dostal could be the best goaltender at the tournament. But when you've that kind of experience under your belt this year,
it goes a long way.
And you're going against your peers, guys, and he's older than a lot of these guys too, but you're going in and you're playing against 20-year-olds, and yes, there's some of the top young prospects. That's a huge advantage for a goaltender to kind of drop down to that level and go into a tournament with that experience.
Yeah, and for goalies too, it's kind of experience, kind of like you said. It's like seeing plays happen or being familiar with the shooters and how the, I don't want to say the new NHL, or how hockey is played now, and it's a much quicker, faster shooting game. You got to be a lot better positionally. So the more experience he has, and especially if he's dominating in such a good league, then it'll be interesting to watch him do this and see where he can possibly become that next backup that we're looking for.
He could be here as early as next year. I mean,
I was thinking that too. I mean, I hate to say we could bring him in and kick Miller to curb. I'd rather have Miller another season if possible, and then just give him 1 more year, see what he could do, like HL, just the North American style of hockey, and see where it kind of goes from there, and then maybe make that next step.
Yeah, I mean, but we haven't seen. It's not impossible for a goaltender to make a jump from the top Finnish league over to the NHL. We've seen it happen time and time again. So it's not another question to see him up with the Ducks next year. I think it all depends on what happens with Ryan Miller, but he could be
Ryan Miller.
a NHL goalie as soon as next season, if not, the season after that. I think if Miller comes back, or even if the Ducks decide to go a different route, Dostal will either be the backup in Anaheim, or the starter in San Diego next year. That's how I kind of feel about his situation. I'm not sure how he would personally feel about being a starter in the AHL. Maybe that's not for him, and he goes back to Finland for another year, and then decides to come over to Anaheim. But I think his time in the NHL is nearing, and I think he's going to be a very good goaltender. Yeah. And Dave had a question. He said, if Gibby falters over the next couple of years, can Dostal take over the crease? Very, very early to predict that. Yes, he's playing good in Finland, but
there's a lot of ifs for there.
Yeah, it might not.
Yeah, I'd give John Gibson a wide berth. I mean, like, if he falters and it's consistent falter for 3 years, then maybe go like, all right, well, that one All-Star game really seemed to F him up for the rest of his career, so I guess we're out. But I just don't see how.
All-Star game, eh?
Yeah, that's about it, or what everyone will eventually say. I just don't see it, and I've talked to people that don't like the Ducks and hate everything about the Ducks, and they go, but that Gibson dude, he's good. Yeah. He's tops good. So, I mean, if everyone's on board with Gibson, I find it next to impossible, unless he's just dog-ass for the next 2 years, then maybe Dawson wins it over. So it's just whether or not he's ready to be a backup, or we'll see what's going on. But that's Gibby for forever until he's completely injured or just completely drops off the planet. But I don't see that happening.
I think if Dostal proves he's that good, despite Gibson's play over that, he becomes trade bait and gets traded before it even gets to that point. I don't think the Ducks are going to put themselves in another Gibson, Freddie Anderson type situation where they have a 1A, 1B, and they're going to have to pay both of these guys a ton of money. Maybe that happens for a few seasons with Dostal on the entry level, but I think
you keep Dostal in the AHL for a couple of the seasons and keep Ryan Miller, just so when Seattle comes, you have to just cover Gibson, protect Dostal, and then you got your Ryan Miller as your possible pickup.
I don't think Dostal has to be exposed, because I think the earliest he could start in NHL is next year, so he wouldn't have to be exposed.
Yeah,
but either way, I think Ryan Miller's last season is probably this year.
This year? Really?
Maybe one more. He's 39. Like, I don't think he plays 40 plus.
But he doesn't look bad.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
I mean,
just think at one point
he looks like a starter. Like, I mean, Minnesota, I think, would be dying for him right at this point. So, I mean, if it's not with, I mean, he's not going anywhere unless it's the Ducks or the Kings. He wants to be in Southern California because of family reasons. But I just, I don't. I mean, I guess if he goes like, well, both these teams suck, so I'm quitting.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much. He can't play. I just think he's going to get to a point where it's just done. Like, it's just, you're 40 now. Like, he'll be 40 at the beginning of next year, I believe. And
I'm 35. I don't think I'll ever quit.
Well, it's
I just compared myself to the most American.
Maybe you can take his job until Dostal gets here. There you go.
So I'm waiting for that call.
Yeah, but I think if it gets to that point, and there's a real consideration that Dostal could be a starter in this league, the Ducks could explore trade options at that point. Because I don't think John Gibson's ever going to regress to a point that the Ducks are like, man, we're going to have to trade this guy because he's no longer any good. Yeah, that's not a bad situation, not a bad problem to have. If Dostal was so good that you're like, who's better, John Gibson or Lucas Dostal? Like, that is a great situation to be in, because then at that point you're trading an elite goaltender for something else to help this team. And you'd have to think at that point they'd be making the trade. The Ducks would hopefully be getting close to being competitive again, so that trade could push
right-handed shot.
Yeah, unless you get it in this draft, because there's some good ones available in this draft. But anyway, we're at an hour and a half, more than an hour and a half, so we gotta close the show up here.
Bonus hockey, as Allers would say.
Yeah, or a way too long of a show, as Pat would always say, because he always gets mad at us when we go over an hour and 20.
Well, because he has to pee. Yeah. He's got the infant.
If we go over an hour and a half and he's not here, he still gets mad at us for going over an hour and a half. So anyway, we went long, but we'll be back. Saturday is what we have planned right now.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say for sure because I've said for sure the last couple of times we're supposed to have a show. We didn't.
Yeah.
But Saturday is the goal because I believe the Ducks play on Friday and Sunday.
Friday. Yep. They play Friday for sure, which is the Star Wars game, I believe, against Washington, or the spitting incident rematch.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Garrett Hathaway.
I'm going to watch
back,
that one.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be back on Saturday. Stay tuned to social media. We'll let you know what time and when that show's gonna be here. But we had to make up for missing the last couple shows, so you got an extra long show today. So again, I apologize to you guys for kind of sending you through a loop there. And then a couple of days we said we were gonna have a show and we didn't. But hopefully, we're all kind of going to get together here and trying to clean things up for you guys so it's a bit more consistent. That was the point of us switching to 2 a week, is that it would be more consistent and a better show. So we're gonna.
We are tripping out of the gate.
Yeah, it hasn't been great. So we're gonna try and get this back on track here, and we'll be back on Saturday, hopefully with the three of us for a revamped show covering the next couple games. All right,
yes,
guys.
for sure.
Take care, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye, guys.